The anticipation is peaking because we know they are coming. Like storm clouds gathering, the looming threat of the Vikings is upon us. In this preview of the upcoming War Sales DLC, we'll take a deeper look at the Nords, their units, the strengths and weaknesses of their forces, and show you the best way to smash the enemy to pieces on the battlefield. Buckle up.
Alright friends, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related, and the War Sales DLC is very close to a release. However, for those that are impatient, we're going to have a bit of a preview in today's episode. We're going to talk about what has been released so far, and then we're going to actually do some tactical guides featuring Nord units. It was here less than 24 hours ago. This is probably going to work. We're probably going to be able to call back a large Western Empire force. We'll see. I'm just going to start an episode right here. Almost certainly we're going to be able to have a battle down here through siege. Welcome back again, friends, to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related. We continue to explore the future DLC with this Nord preview. We have a Nord army here led by Eric the Red, very infantry heavy, and of course almost no cavalry. We will make sure we have no cavalry for these battles as we continue to explore the tactical side of Bannerlord and the Nords. And right on schedule here, it looks like a large Western Empire force, indeed led by Garrios, is coming to defend. That is optimal because we want several different types of battles today for this series to help give you guys a guide to using the Nords in the upcoming DLC. How do you fight with armies that are mostly infantry? How do you take advantage of their defense? How do you fight a defensive enemy? How do you fight without a lot of cavalry? We will discuss those things today. We will discuss some of their strong units here, and we've tricked out this campaign with the help of a friend who made a great mod for us, a little bit of tinkering behind the scenes, and we have Eric the Red and his Norse, right? The Nordic Huskarl, the first tier 6 infantry in the game. We also have these guys, right? Straight from the Tail Worlds previews, the Sturgeon Long Axemen. These guys are heavy polearm, fast-moving shock troops. They're going to be tactically interesting, and then a host of other strong Sturgeon units that we're gonna make believe for this episode are the Norse. The DLC is releasing imminently, and I wanted these guides basically front-running it to give you guys all the tactical brain candy you need to go out as the Norse and butcher your enemies. Now, I'm looking across our army here. We have a variety of low-level troops at the bottom, but overall, our army is pretty strong. We have probably 70% of our army is tier 5 or tier 4 and above. So even outnumbered 2-1 here, I think we got a good shot to win. And indeed, it is the Emperor himself, the pomp and circumstance here, as the Emperor slams his army, slams his dick in the car door here against this Nordic force. You can see he's significantly favored to win here, 1,500 forces here, and I don't think they have much chance. And we'll talk about some of these units during this episode, extensively talk about tactics in this episode. We'll talk a little bit about their archers. If we have a lot of archers, what I'm actually planning to do in today's episodes is to have them hold fire at roughly half of their ammo expelled. That is something we will continue to talk about because, by all accounts, it does look like the Nord archers only get one quiver. They'll have a sword or an axe, a shield, in other words, 2 weapon slots designated to the weapons, and then a bow and a quiver, not 2 quivers. So a little bit of a disadvantage, I think, unless they're really good on offense. Now, I've got a good location here to prep for today's battle. We are being attacked here. That's critical. That means the enemy must come to us. We will cover, not in today's episode, but this series, we will cover more offensive tactics. Although, thinking about it, we have 10 archers, 13 archers, and no cavalry. So we're going to have to be offensive in this episode. Otherwise, the enemy's simply going to shoot us to pieces, right? They're going to sit at range and fill us full of arrows. And even though we can hold up our shields, I think it makes more sense to bring the fight to them. Now get these captains assigned here. We'll talk about this briefly, this first battle. I don't want to talk about it too much in every single battle. We've got 4 infantry divisions, and what you need to know is the first is defensive, the second is offensive, and it's our best troops by clicking those 4 buttons, and then the only other division that's altered is the 6th division, so that's skirmishers. Now I like to, just like Napoleon or any good general, Alexander the Great, you want to inspect your troops. This is not pomp and circumstance. This is to make sure that the correct pieces on the chessboard are in the right spots, right? You want to make sure these are your infantry that are going to play defense. Our 1st division will be in a square holding each other's hands most of the battle. These guys are our best offensive weapons, right? These are the Huskarls. The Huskarls in this mod are a little bit more offensive than the DLC will probably be. The DLC, they do not have a two-handed sword or two-handed axe. I think they have a two-handed spear by all accounts. I'm concerned about that, actually. I think that makes them a little bit weaker than people are hoping because spears and Bannerlord are not exactly amazing. It's a bit of an understatement. Now, the 3rd division is this wolf, these Ulfenden. It's basically savage polearm guys, and let's get a closer look here. Tailworlds has given us a preview for these guys, and the mod maker was able to replicate them pretty damn well here with a long custom polearm. It seems like he fabricated this weapon out of thin air because I don't think this is in the base game. Those guys move quickly. They're lightly armored. They're wearing a bunch of wolf fur, right? However, that speed and weapon capacity makes them a highly difficult unit to use. Basically, you must protect them, but if you can get them on the enemy, especially archers, they will cut them to ribbons. Now, I'm trying to form a tight ring here. It can be very difficult with infantry. I actually don't like forming rings with infantry. I would prefer a square. But I've been experimenting a little bit in this series with ring defenses, and I think if you're going to do ring defenses, you want it to be spear infantry, not standard infantry. We'll talk more about that. For today, we'll just use shield walls, and we are going to protect our 3rd division simply by keeping them way back at the rest of the troops. Now, this is a critical division for this battle and probably the DLC as well, a skirmisher division. They have a troop banner that makes them move faster, and we're going to take full advantage of that in today's battle. Now, a couple of battles today, I hope to fight with the RTS overhead mod, but we're also going to fight on foot some in this series. Don't worry, though. If you're overwhelmed by all of this, we are going to sort of slow-mo occasionally, and I will discuss stuff as we make maneuvers. Now, here's our whole archer division. It's like 9 dudes there. That's not going to work, right? We're going to have to go offensive. You can see we're outnumbered basically 2.5 to 1. There's a lot of things stacked up against us in this battle. Here's a couple good things, though. First, as they try to stab me here, we're playing defense, right? Now, it says they don't have cavalry, but I already see cavalry, so I'm a little confused. It says 251 infantry and 430 infantry and 200 and something archers. That doesn't make sense. I see cavalry. It's really interesting. It's almost like the AI has combined its horse archers, cavalry, and infantry in one division here because they have plentiful cavalry. They're just mixed in with their infantry. And that is a very curious new thing that I have not seen before in Bannerlord. Alright, so that probably tells you that the AI is being worked out still with Tailworlds. This is the 1.32 beta. So, cavalry is more lethal, much more powerful spear cavalry charge. And it'll be interesting to see over the course of these battles how we can deal with that. Now, the reinforcement spot is critical. In fact, our reinforcement spot is going to come almost where the enemy is standing right now. Why is that important? Well, as you saw a second ago, we have 300 troops. The enemy has 700. That means that we still have some 300 troops going to come out of the reinforcement spawn. And unfortunately, it does not come out of the back of the map. It comes out roughly where you start the battle. So that's part of the reason it's critical to be on the defense in a battle like this. If the enemy was way on the other side of this valley playing defense, it would be much harder to go and fight them and then pray we got reinforcements. We would probably just get annihilated, at least in our first wave, trying to take on the enemy. Now, the enemy's being static here, so I'm going to be aggressive in this situation. I've got blind ridges here to put troops. And what I mean by blind ridges is I can move both the 3rd, 2nd, and 6th Division to spots where they can't really be seen very well by the archers. You know, we're just moving in covertly like you would on a first-person shooter game, right? Now, the 2nd and 1st Division are simply going to have to take arrows. We must get close to the enemy to have any chance to win. We can't win with 8 archers. So we're going to close in with the wings. The 3rd Division, which is shock troops, those Ulfendin, they will come late in the battle. In other words, they will be brought up last. This skirmisher division, though, is going to play a leading role. I mentioned that already. This 6th Division, they are on hold fire. They have javelins and throwing axes. From the Tail Worlds previews, we know that they have javelins and throwing axes. I just smoked that guy. We don't know how many they have, though, right? We don't know if they have a lot of javelins, a few javelins, really good javelins, etc. We're going to have to wait and see on that. However, we do know that they have a lot of throwing weapons, and we're going to try to take full advantage of that. Now, that's our 3rd Division. 1st and 2nd Division simply have to be shoved into the enemy. The 1st is in a square, the 2nd is in a shield wall, and that is because the 2nd is going to attack, the 1st is not. That 1st Division is going to literally come up in a big square and stand there in front of the enemy. This is the key. The skirmishers are now behind the enemy. They're behind their archers, or at least they will be once they fulfill that movement order I just made. Notice the 3rd Division starting to loom up, but here's where we're going to do our killing. Incredibly, the AI has not adapted or adjusted to this. These guys are point blank firing javelins and throwing axes into the back of all of these archers, infantry, and cavalry. You know, you can call this good tactics or poor adjustment by the AI. Whatever it is, we will take advantage of it. Now, these are allied troops. I send them and click them through the enemy forces. Look where I'm putting those divisions. That's because I want them to get their asses in there. I'm not asking them to charge. I want them to get in through the enemy forces. Basically, like a virus. I want them to completely invade all of the exterior defenses, right? Go right through that initial wave. Now, the 2nd Division, or 6th Division over here, I just want them heading off the enemy the rest of the battle. They move fast. They have a speed banner. They should be able to run down everything that isn't on a horse with their movement speed. And in addition to that, they can also fire javelins at range, right? So they can just strafe the enemy like that while they stay sort of one step ahead of the enemy. You're going to see me just push these guys through the enemy ranks over and over again. The idea and the concept here is that our other infantry divisions are charging the enemy center, and we have this flank thoroughly covered here. I seem to get killed every battle here because, of course, this guy's wearing a wolf pelt. This is not advised weaponry or armory for heavy-duty fighting. Nevertheless, we're going to wade in here. I just sent the 6th right into the enemy ranks, and again, that's because we want to cut these guys off and get a sword on every single archer. The archers are starting to scramble. Our guys here charge up. And on the other side, you know, of course, I didn't mention it much because they're fighting over there. The 1st, 2nd, and 3rd are now charging, and critically, and this is very important for less experienced players, they are in line formation. They're no longer in a square. They're no longer in a shield wall because units move really slow in either a shield wall or a square. Once you're chasing the enemy, you want to be in line formation. That's the fastest movement formation for your troops. This is a critical thing for people to understand about Bannerlord and the Norse. At this stage, even if you were going to do F1, F3, which would probably be okay, at this stage we really have the enemy on the ropes. I would say everybody line formation and then everybody F1, F3. And that'll put every single guy in their fastest moving position, fastest moving formation, and charge. And the death spam looks wonderful. Considering we're outnumbered, that was beautiful. We just completely devoured their initial vanguard. All right, so we have reinforcements, and they're a little bit behind us, but they're not too far behind because we started on defense, right? Because the enemy came to us. We can smash some guys here with our sledgehammer and close in on them. I'm going to hide behind guys with shields when I can. And it's time to do some savage, violent blows here. Now, we're still going to do tactics, right? That 6th Division, you're going to consistently see me flanking, right? We're going to put one division to the side all the time. We will shield wall when cavalry's coming up and play defense. Once they come through sort of impotently, then we can bore in. Now we still want them flanking, right? We want one troop on the side of the enemy. That way a lot of their shields aren't doing shit, right? They're not blocking the javelins because, of course, our troops are behind them or on their side, right? So you're going to just consistently see me shove a division. Think of it as like a 90-degree angle from the rest of your troops. In fact, these guys are highly separated from the rest of our troops. That's fine. Charge, right? These guys are capable. These are tier 3, 4, and 5 skirmishers, so they're very capable of melee. And we don't know if they have a tier 5 skirmisher. In fact, it seems like not. I'm just speculating. Maybe the Marine, the tier 5 Marine has javelins. We're not certain at this stage. But if they do have them, this is definitely how you want to use them. Aggressive and shove them right in the face of the enemy. Now, the rest of our infantry is eating, and that is because we're drawing an enormous amount of tension with our division here. The AI hates being flanked. It's actually good coding. It's prioritizing us as a threat, and by doing so, it's leaving the rest of our troops free to work. Right? Our other infantry lines are coming up, blasting everything to pieces. And the bottom line is, okay, here's archers. Cut them off at the pass, right? Just send your troops straight into them. Ignore your current target and go straight into those archers so that they can't shoot. When they start shooting, whip out your shield. You're going to definitely want a shield with your Nordic unit, with your Nordic captain in the DLC, because archers are absolutely lethal in the DLC. Hyper accurate. They were already dangerous before the 1.3 updates. Now they're even more deadly. That's bad news for the Norse, but if you know what you're facing, right? If you, just like the last samurai, if you know your enemy, you can obliterate everything. Now we get to pound on little weak archers here. This is stuff that Tail Worlds did that's great. It makes us feel better about working for some corporation that collects all the rewards, right? We can beat the shit out of these digital pixels here, have a good time doing it, stomp on them, do some sexual desecration while we teabag our opponent. And this battle is already over. The whole allied force is sort of reeling and running. They're being clubbed to the ground and smashed to pieces. They're yelling for help. Help! And then he got smashed. Help! And this was a textbook mauling by an infantry heavy force. Now this is going to be one of the most difficult parts, I think, for players with the Nords, is kiting or archer heavy armies. And that is because, oh shit, they just turned. All right, we get some combat here at the end. But the bottom line is that you're going to have to be very aggressive with your troops and very offensive, right? Now, you can do it in the traditional way, F1, F3, but if you're not using tactics and not using flanks, I think you're going to experience very poor results. Now, we didn't really use our archers much in this battle, otherwise we would have held fire. Basically, we won this battle with infantry only. Now, we are running other series right now that cover infantry tactics. There's a whole lot, heck of a lot more than we showed right here. And of course, this series is going to be infantry heavy tactics. We are going to cover how to deal with a lot of horse archers. We are going to fight a heavy cavalry army here. So we wade in and finish this force off. And, you know, true to form here, we get killed at the end of battle. That's okay. I'm looking up at the power bar. Even though they mounted this little last desperate stand, this is still a resounding ass throttling, whatever you want to call it. Add some more adjectives. This was a pure whipping here by this Nordic army. Now, these are strong units, and by the way, of course, you can practice with this mod. You have to download it in the link listed below. Please endorse the maker, right? This guy does this for free. These guys depend on endorsements. If you want to buy them coffee or something like that, you usually have a donation area. These mod makers work hard for us, and they would certainly appreciate it if we return the favor. Well, there are Khuzait forces here and the Northern Empire. We should be able to find a fight in pretty short order. There's the swamps down there, which is always a good tactical area to use infantry, and that's going to be one of the keys here, as indeed Monchug has rolled up. We're going to be able to get a battle on here. In fact, I think this is a good spot to try to drag him to the swamp. We're going to cover a larger horse archer battle in this series. This is actually not very big. I wish he had 1,000. I don't think he has much chance with 733, especially because we're going to drag his ass into the swamp. Now, terrain is going to be one of the consistent themes of this series and for the Nords. If you're fighting in the open and not taking any advantage of terrain or the various different battlefields of Calradia, you will have a much harder time, right? As the Norse, one of the most important things is going to be hiding from archer fire when you can, closing on the enemy as fast as you can. So that includes strategies like a reverse slope decline or using terrain in your favor, and slowing the enemy down, right? Slowing the enemy down a lot of times is going to consist of using either water or marshes. And I'm almost certain now that we've dragged Monchug down here that we're going to be in a marsh. 800, 900. Whoops, those forces are attacking like a caravan or something like that. I can't tell.
Out there. Who are
And the Khan comes in. And you can see the power bar here. They're slightly favored. That is because we have a strong army. We probably have half our army is tier 4 and 5. Eric the Red here leading this force. Don't have any real upgrades to do. Of course, we'll do all these battles in Bannerlord difficulty, and there are no other mods besides the overhaul mod for the troops and the RTS mod. We're on version 1.32 for anybody curious. That's why it keeps resetting our divisions here. This is a known bug. And indeed, we have a marsh, right? It's even steaming. It's going to steam even more with the body heat of all of the Khuzaits forces that are dead on it as their souls are fleeing their body and their carcasses start to sink into the marsh. And we got to get these divisions set up real quick here. I don't think I'm going to cover it in too much detail here. You do want to inspect your units before each battle, but the main premise here is 4 infantry divisions, right? The 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 6th. The 1st is defense. Again, you want to have at least 1 defensive division when you're playing the Norse. That is because you're going to get shot at. You're going to get cavalry charges, etc. We also have this 2nd division full of murderers. And each of the divisions has a very distinct role. The 3rd division is shock troops. They will come roaring in, and you can see almost every guy there has a shield, right? That's why, and a spear. A lot of them have a spear. That makes for a really good defensive division. Your guys that have two-handed weapons are terrible at defense. If they get charged with cavalry, they can't really block the attacks very well. Occasionally they can parry, but most of the time they just get killed. So you got to protect your shock troops from everything except other infantry. They destroy other infantry and of course archers if you can get your hands on your archers. Now this mod maker did a great job of these wolf guys here. They really do look like we snuck into Tailworld's headquarters and got ourselves an early copy of the DLC, right down to their armor and their stats. These guys look very similar to the tier 5 Ulfadin that are going to be part of the DLC expansion. They're going to move quickly. They're lightly armored, so you're going to have to protect them, but presumably they're going to have massive killing power. Finally, the 6th Division, a bunch of skirmishers, and while not every single guy here is a skirmisher, most of them have a bag or two of javelins. That also remains to be seen how many javelins they have. And this is an underrated aspect of skirmishers. Just like your archers, your skirmishers will run out of ammo. Right now, the most ammo in the game is your lake rats and your Batanian skirmishers. Now, our archers here, I've been contemplating, getting rid of some of our sturgeon archers because they have 2 quivers, but for now, we'll just roll with it. Got some Ulfandin. There's a couple of sturgeon heroic line breakers mixed in there. Of course, we are officially sturgeon. Don't worry, there's no, again, we didn't steal the code from Tailworlds. This is just the mod makers doing their magic. Again, Isaac, thank you for this. And 350 horse archers, and what we want more than anything is to get them stuck in the trees or stuck in the marsh. So we're going to position accordingly, right? We're basically going to try to herd them into the marsh, and they are coming towards the marsh. So let's start spreading units out on the shore. What I like to do is just make big long sprays of units, and this would be a tactic I would use for any opponent in the marsh, but especially horse archers. Give them room in the marsh, right? Give them enough rope for them to hang themselves. We're going to stretch out shield walls to our left. That way our flank is protected. And I'm not sure what to do with our shock troops. If you bring up shock troops against horse archers that are shooting actively, you want them in the back. But if they're circling you and going through your ranks, you want them in the middle. So I'm just going to kind of keep them in between and sort of, I'm going to reserve a judgment on what we do with them. Skirmishers here on the left, and it's time to shield wall, right? The horse archers are going to start firing away thousands of archers, thousands of arrows at us. We want to play defense initially and see what they do. Anybody wondering, I just charged there. We have like 3 Sturgian Lords here that I just said, go charge. Get out of our army. Now, good depth spray so far. Why? Well, we have a lot of skirmishers, but also our archers are shooting horse archers in the marsh. They're not moving very fast. And obviously, that's a much more likely to hit your target when the enemy's moving slower. I'm going to get these 3rd Division just completely out of here. I don't want them circled. We're basically playing hide-and-go-seek with our shock troops, although the enemy's coming straight towards our center. Let's commit. They're like fighting with our melee here. This is strange horse archer behavior. We'll take advantage of it. I have heard this. Some guys say horse archers are acting funny with the 1.3 beta. Maybe this is what they mean. They basically charged in like they were infantry. Yeah, and they're suffering the consequences. Our skirmishers are lighting it up. Our archers are shredding it. Now we can start charging with these infantry divisions, right? This 6th Division here, throwing javelins, right? In fact, is that... Oh, their main vanguard is back a ways, right? That's infantry and archers there, so they're sending horse archers. Let's get this 6th Division basing all those troops, right? They can absorb arrows. I'm basically using that 6th Division now suddenly as defense, and this is one of the keys with the Norse. Have 2 or 3 divisions where they have multiple different things they can do. Attack, defense, maybe they can make you copy. Right? You want to have versatility in your armor and your army, and I think that's going to be very possible with the Norse. I'm going to pull our units back here. We're doing a little bit of a archer javelin exchange, and they don't have that many archers still. 59 archers, right? So I'm going to move back, make the enemy commit. After all, they attacked us, right? These skirmishers here we can put up on this ridge. They're basically short-ranged archers. That's how you want to consider skirmishers, right? As the enemy, look at this. The enemy infantry's coming right down the center here. We've got our square in the middle. That's our 1st Division. We've mentioned that over and over in these battles. The 6th Division can be told to fire, right? All of a sudden, these skirmishers let fly. On the far side over there, the 2nd Division is just waiting for the order to kill. Our archers are shooting through the gaps here. And this 2nd Division is just going to completely obliterate the enemy. Look at the position they have. Barreling through in the marsh. The skirmishers can charge. And where did 3rd Division go? Our 3rd Division is chasing cavalry off in the forest, it looks like. We can bring them back. But the enemy's being pounded here. Now, the 1st Division can charge too, right? The enemy is just reeling here. At this stage, F1, F3 is for sure appropriate. The enemy is just rocked. And you want to, when the enemy is in a situation like this, you want to apply maximum pressure. They're fleeing for the hills here. I can just sort of bitch slap some of these guys here. If I'm honest, you know, with the 1,000 battles of Bannerlord, I think this battle's already over. I think they have routed. And the more we play the Norse here, this is about the 7th significant battle, the more comfortable I get. Right? These are some of the first big battles we've had in this campaign. And this is definitely going to be useful for you fellas picking up your copy of the DLC today. And maybe you want to learn some Bannerlord tactics on how to use these warriors. If you want to have great results in Bannerlord, and who doesn't, right? Who wants to? Has anybody ever said, you know, I'd like to lead a mediocre life and be a mediocre husband? I'd like to be very mediocre at whatever I do. No. We want to be good at what we do, and that's what we teach on the channel. In fact, I will teach you to be a good husband, a great cook, and probably not those first 2 things, but maybe a really good Bannerlord commander. And barring a last-minute change here, this battle is over. We will add this to the cache of videos. We're going to make a compilation video for you fellas on YouTube, a successful decimation of horse archers. Now, never fear, 61 casualties. That is an ass whipping, almost a 10-to-1 kill ratio. Never fear, too. We will fight the horse archers in an open situation where we can't use a marsh, but there you go, right? There's a good way to use terrain to decimate Manchug and his army. On to the next battle. Certainly not going to be easy, but you're not here for easy, right? Easy is F1, F3, and overwhelming a city defense. We're outnumbered 2-to-1, but we're healing as we go here, even though we're getting the bloody flux or whatever the hell. We're getting some events here. Those are all still too minor to really affect the campaign. I would love to see the bloody flux be, you know, like 100 men are injured or diseased or whatever. 4 and 2 and doesn't really mean a thing. We can just recruit some prisoners or whatever. You just fight better and it doesn't really matter. We've got a pretty decent army, but we keep hemorrhaging troops the further we get into enemy territory. None of that really matters. This is just going to be another nice challenge mission here for this Nord series. We will siege this city, outnumbered for sure, even if everybody gets healed here. And all along the way, our army is slowly getting stronger from a level perspective. Our main character is not even 150 siege yet. But it's good enough that we can build trebuchets and blow down the enemy defenses. You always want to do this reserve units, and if they're picking on one, I typically like to put it in reserve for a little bit before we activate the other ones. Once you have 3 going, you can usually overcome the siege inside the city, unless, of course, there's a very strong engineer inside, and then you want to have all 4 catapults up, or all 4 trebuchets up. All we want to do here, I'm not going to wait until the walls are down. All we want to do here is to make sure they don't have fire catapults. I will even siege if they have a regular catapult, but not fire catapults. Fire catapults still 3-shot most of the time your siege towers, sometimes 2. 2 hits is all it takes if they have a really good commander and the right perks. You want to make sure that the fire catapults are down. Now, we're almost ready to go here. We just don't have a siege tower. I almost always like to have 1 set of ladders and 1 siege tower. That way, if you can knock down, just like this, if you can knock down all their siege, even though there's enemy forces incoming, we're ready to go here. And outnumbered by about 50%. That's a good challenge. 588 versus 950 something. Do some last minute upgrades here and in we go. We have a decent amount of archers, but not very many. So we'll take these prisoners as well. All right, now sieges, ironically, are the area where tactics are some of the more complex available options for you as a player. We're going to switch to throwing axes here, and I'm going to walk you through philosophy in Siege Assault, but also some of the tactics you could perform are basically a methodical, slow grinding process. Especially with infantry, we're going to assault the walls with all sorts of javelins. This is standard practice. In fact, I started doing this without realizing I needed to explain this. Speed is key in the open field with your infantry army. In a siege, you want to reduce damage. Reduced ranged damage for shock troops. He doesn't have a shield, right? At least we can reduce their damage with a banner. And then for your tanks, gals like this, the movement speed is okay in Siege, doesn't really benefit you though. Far more important is reduction in ranged and more importantly, attack damage. There's going to be heavy blows on the walls as our little pitiful enemy here tries to repel our attack. We want to make sure that our uber strong Nord warriors on the wall is taking even less damage, right? You add all these perks up, strong warriors on the wall, and what a nightmare for the defenders, right? We're going to be so hard to beat back from the walls. And of course, we're not going to let them, right? We're going to... Oh, what the hell? My recording just stopped. Okay. I got my little dot. We can keep going here. We're going to be imposing our will on this city. And let me walk you through the divisions here. We're going to use all 8 divisions. It's even more important in Siege to have command over several divisions. Because think about it. If you have command over 4 divisions in Siege, that's a siege tower, a siege ladder, and a siege ram. That means you have 1 group of archers, and that's it. Right now, if you let the AI do its thing, it'll get shot to pieces outside, right? It'll do the lousy stuff that Siege AI does. They'll stand behind those little rickety guard things. We're going to do far better than that. We're going to create a situation of military hegemony on our right side here. If you've never heard of that term, hegemony means where it's so strong the enemy can't even really put up a defense. It's going to be overwhelming. So 1st, 2nd, 3rd. The 5th division will be shock troops. These guys happen to have a little bit of javelins, so we'll keep their javelins back. Those are the Ulfenheim. I've already forgotten how to pronounce them. That's our wolf dudes with the polearm. That's who they are. 4th and 2nd division are going to be skirmishers, and the 4th is going to have to push that siege tower. I just don't have enough troops. The 2nd will be loose. So 1st, 2nd, 2nd, and 6th is going to assault the left side. That's basically an archer division, a skirmisher division in the 2nd Corps, and then the infantry. The 1st infantry will be tough infantry going over the wall, right? We want to have a multi-angle, multi-prong attack here. That way, the enemy can't just defend one location, right? We're going to try to pressure them everywhere, and because we destroyed their siege weapons, they cannot stop either our ram or our siege tower. Translation, the enemy's FUCT. They are fucked. We're going to be able to get troops into every single orifice here, and like a terrible porn movie, this is going to get very messy very quick for the enemy. 4th Division, 2nd Division. All right, again, I'll continue to walk you through this. There's a lot to remember here, and I'm reminded often of the span of control. It's a psychological concept that the human brain is only capable of doing so many things at the same time, right? I'm trying to narrate. I guess I'm doing 10 things at the same time here, narrating, commanding 8 divisions, and I'm making a nice frappuccino for my wife here. Do a bunch of shit all at the same time. So 5th, 4th, 5th, 7th. I also have my number scheme off. I have a normal scheme for my other campaigns and other series, and this one's a little bit out of sorts, but we can make it work. 1st, 2nd, 6th. I'm just doing a little memorization process here, and that'll also help me walk you guys through it as well. So the 1st Division and 2nd Division, we're going to bring them up to walls in a hurry. The 6th Division of Archers, we're going to bring them up to support them. And once the left side is going, I'm kind of going to leave it alone. We're going to have guys going up the siege tower, or going up the siege ladder rather, and while they're going up the siege ladder, we will then get to our real assault, which of course is going to be on the right side of the city, where the siege tower is. Siege ladder is much harder to get up. You have no protection from archers. You can only get 2 guys up at a time instead of 3. It's basically just a capacity thing. We got a bunch of archers here, but very quickly those guys... Shit, man, you hit my horse? Who did that shit? Is it you? It was you! This fucking guy here. Catch an axe in the chest, you fucker. Hit my horse. All right, so lift these ladders up real quick, and as soon as you get these ladders lifted, I like to charge with your main over-the-wall division. In this case, it's the 1st Division. That way those boys instantly start climbing those ladders. As soon as their big fat butts are on those ladders, they can't be pushed off. That's critical, because you know the enemy is bringing those little pitchforks trying to push your ladders away. Get those meaty boys on the ladder like that, and those ladders are in place the rest of the siege. Or at least they should be. No, fucker, hit my horse. Alright, there's javelins flying everywhere. I may pick up some javelins at some point. So the 2nd Division is here, flinging javelins. And I think I'm actually going to steal them. We could leave them here, but I'm concerned about how few troops we have in the battlefield. 2nd, 3rd. We've got guys on the ram. I don't want to commit 4 divisions to the center. So I'm going to drag this 2nd Division over here towards the siege tower as well. So it's just the 1st and the 6th over there, at least until the ram gets up there. Now over here we have massive firepower coming, right? The 4th Division, that's skirmishers pushing the siege tower. They are on hold fire. The 5th Division is also on hold fire. That's our Ulfendins, yeah, those guys, the wolf dudes. The wolf polearm mofos. We've also got an archer division, the 7th Corps, and we brought the 2nd Division over here as well. It drives some guy crazy when I say Corps. Yeah. I just like saying Corps. Division sucks. That's a stupid word. I like saying Corps. It makes me feel like Napoleon. We're moving Marshal Ney and Marshal Oudinot over here. Marshal Murat, of course, is leading the flank. And look at the aerial assault here as our 2nd Division unloads javelins. We don't have many archers, but we have a lot of skirmishers. Throwing axes are going everywhere. I just picked up a sword, I think. We got a hammer still? Okay, I see a hammer. We're good. Pick up some javelins here, and we're going to methodically overpower this side of the city. The enemy is going to bring a lot of troops here. We're badly outnumbered, right? So the enemy's going to have a huge defense force here, but we've got the troops to do it, right? 2nd, 4th, 5th. All 3 of these divisions can go over. Let's start here with the 2nd Division, right? Anybody who's out of ammo, get up there. This 5th Division can be told to open fire, and goodnight, all those archers on the walls. Look at the javelins just raining down. I could be a weather reporter for this episode. Partly cloudy and a chance of impalement by sharp thrown object. Guys are getting drilled up there left and right. And we still have this 4th Division in reserve. And what I mean reserve, not just combat, but also throwing javelins. I want them for the siege inside the city to come. Obviously the siege is hardly over just because we've made a good puncture. Now I like to pick up a bunch of gear here. While the men are going up, might as well let the lower paid guys take all the vanguard of the enemy first, and then maybe after a minute or 2 passes, I think then you can usually proceed up. If it's an especially well-defended city, I might wait 3 or 4 minutes, because if you get killed in a siege, a lot of times it's going to go to shit. 2, 3. So the 2nd Division is up there. We're going to pull the 4th, And the 5th are the shock troops. The 5th is behind the 4th, right? We want that in that order. That way. Oh shit, there's a huge amount of defenders up here. Alright, I gotta get line of sight, but we're gonna push through this. A lot of guys get really stuck at this situation of a siege. The enemy has a huge amount of defenders here. Here's what you do. Shove until you can get line of sight, and then point your troops down somewhere along the walls here. Right, you see those walls way over there? Just tell your troops, go way over there. I know it seems strange. I'm not having them attack. I'm just telling these guys, get out of the way, make room for more lads, and go that direction. Now, it's going to take a little bit here. The enemy's fighting like wolves. They're doing a pretty good job, actually. I mean, there's a huge amount of defenders here, but look at, all of a sudden, we're squeezing a crack through here, and now we have a breach. Now we're just flooding this right side. So you want to keep the momentum going, right? Now that you got a breach, keep on throttling this way, and don't stop till you have like 60 to 100 guys up here, right? Once you have 60 to 100, then you can start to tell them kill. Now we've got a breach. Now these guys can blow a hole for the rest of their lads. Although 84, we're cut off here pretty good. I probably should have sent them down there in the courtyard. I guess I'll just drop down myself. We got a full health bar. And now we're going to blow a hole for the rest of the lads here. It's super bloody. The AI is actually defending really well, and this is something I've noticed, and I love this change. The AI defends sieges way better than they used to. You don't get breaches like you used to. They defend, and they fucking fight like nails to hold on to the walls. They try to hold on to puncture points like that siege tower, and they're actually really doing an admirable job here. They have 56 defenders up there fighting for their lives. Archers are pricking me in the face. Little fucker. Your wife's gonna be a mistress, you little bastard militia. This guy here, eat it. Dude, he took it right in the face and just keeps on shooting. What is this? We gotta get this guy's throwing up more. Alright, so we're consolidating here in this courtyard. We're also fighting our way through all the troops there at the tower. That's okay, right? The death spam looks terrific. And we're gonna, oh shit, they're bringing reinforcements over. Once we get 30, 40 guys here, we're going to start pushing through the back streets of this city, right? The front gate is all that really remains. We're going to overwhelm it here with a couple divisions. We've got these skirmishers. I think the 5th Division died in that initial charge. We got repulsed pretty good. Pick up some javelins here while our boys throw. A lot of them are throwing it right off the wall. At least it can land in my pocket back book here since they're so wild. They're literally throwing it right at the wall, looks like. You bunch of inaccurate dipshits. Alright, let's have these guys hold fire. That way they don't throw every javelin. 2nd, 4th. Well, we've only got 2 divisions here. The archers are on their way, and that's going to have to do. Okay, good. The 2nd has a nice, strong division here. I put them here in a square to prevent the enemy from bringing over a huge amount of troops to stop us. So these 2 divisions, in we go here. At least we're going to be able to get multiple angles, and we can do a square. Oh, I was going to say, if they have a huge amount of troops, there's like 80 troops here. 36? Oh, that's just the guys at the door. So, frankly, this siege is over. We now have 100 troops backdooring the enemy on the other side. You can see that their archers and infantry is being pressured downhill. Now the javelins fly, and the siege is over. And in situations like this, I would have welcomed 1,500 defenders here, right? We might have been able to take 5 to 1, 4 to 1 outnumbered. I think infantry is probably going to be, the Nords are probably going to be incredibly powerful in siege assault. Because of the power of their infantry, they're going to be really hard to kill. Which reminds me, of course, we are going to try for this series to do siege defense against the Nords. This will be highly anticipated. I think I'm really excited to do it. Maybe I'm the only one. But they're going to be incredibly hard to kill. And that means you're going to have basically these Terminators coming into your city, and you've got to try to repel them. I think siege, of course, will be key. Archers will be key. And then timely positioning troops. But there you have it. Make sure we get a siege assault as part of this series. And frankly, we just rolled right through this city. This army of 450 Nords is just crushing everything in sight. I mean, not even half of our forces are down. And the city is ours. 844 kills. That's a good ratio. A bunch of skill points here too, right? Siege is really good for farming kills, and we did precisely that. The only guy who went down quick was the guy who has no armor. So, All right, we are going to continue this series here. This series is basically set to prep you guys to dominate the DLC. If a week and a half in, you're playing the DLC and you've been coming to our channel and checking out these guides and you're just shredding it, then my job is complete, right? That is going to be the purpose of this series, is to get you guys dialed in to a heavy infantry army, crushing your foe in the open field, smashing cavalry and archers to pieces, and blasting your way through siege. Next episode, we'll look for a siege defense, which will be interesting because we won't have many archers. We will look to face a very large force of Battanians with tons of javelins and arrows coming our way. And I think Valandia too, right? We can try to find a Valandian army with lots of heavy cavalry. At that point, of course, we'll shift over to playing against the Nords and help you guys that want to play, the Northern Empire or Khuzaits or the Valandians. How do you fight against the Nords? That series will follow. All right, if you want to see more, now's your time to subscribe. Please hit that like and hype button on the way out. And I will see you friends next time.